Thank you everyone for joining us for today's GSA Fleet desktop workshop on the GSAFleet.gov vehicle registration functionality. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Alex Stepanov.
Hi everybody, Happy New Year. Somebody mentioned it in the chat, so I just wanted to throw that out. And like Stacy mentioned, this is kind of a repeat of some of the things that we talked about before in the last desktop workshop that we did on the same topic. But there's some new things, and there's some new ways that we're showing you things. So we've got some goodies up ahead. So today we'll be talking about the GSAFleet.gov vehicle registration functionality, which is the first part of GSAFleet.gov that's going to be released. Like Stacy said, my name is Alex Stepanov. I'm the communications lead for the modernization team. And with me are Angel Rahman, who's also going to be presenting and showing some of the cool things we've got to look forward to for the release. And Vong and Jamie will be on the sidelines answering questions too. And like Stacy said, the link at the bottom of that slide has the where you can go find the presentations. Okay, so to start off, like we mentioned in the last time, but also just in general for people that haven't seen this before, GSAFleet.gov is going to be one system. So our goal is to modernize everything that you use to manage your federal fleet. Well, that means that FMVRS, the Federal Motor Vehicle Registration System, VFE, CAM, Auto Choice, FedFMS, everything's going to be under one system. And you'll have one login, one single field for all of it. So that way it's a little bit easier to track and manage everything. So what does that mean for you? What does our modernization mean for you? Our goal is always to make your job easier. We want to make sure that you're able to get the information that you need and do the things that you need to do in the system as easily as possible. So that means we're streamlining our processes. We're automating where we can. We're trying to capture better data. Part of that was our FMVRS data cleanup that you might have been a part of. And then, like I mentioned, we are consolidating all of our systems into one place with that one single login. You won't have to remember 50 passwords anymore, which will be nice. So, okay. And then this is our estimated completion timeline. So in FY22, we're going to be releasing the new vehicle registration service, vehicle standards, FMS to go. And then in FY23, we'll be doing agency incurred expense, VFE, auto choice, vehicle dispatch reservation module DRM, and CAM. And then in FY24, we'll be doing drive-through, short-term rental, and FedFMS. And something to keep in mind with that is that we're not just going to switch off one thing and then turn it on in GSAFleet.gov. We'll have advanced notice. We'll be doing more desktop workshops like this. We'll be releasing guides on how to navigate the site, which when we go live, we'll be releasing material for that as well. And we try to take into consideration as much as possible your calendar year, the acquisition year, and what that looks like in your workflows as well. And then another note is that these things are going to be continuously worked on. So it's not just we release the new vehicle registration system and then we stop working on it. We'll be making improvements as we go along, making enhancements, taking into consideration feedback from people that have done testing with us, and making sure that all of the things that you need to do your job are included in the system. So with that, what are we including in the vehicle registration functionality? You'll be able to do all of the basic functions that you can do in FMVRS today. So you'll be able to reconcile your license plate orders, do vehicle registration, including OCONUS, updating your records, reporting assets sold or missing, and downloading your registration and insurance cards. Our goal is currently to have it, our goal is currently to have everything released by January, or to have our go live in January, at the end of January. So we're looking at the 17th tentatively. That might be a little bit later, but for at the moment, it's going to be sometime in January. Our vehicle registration also includes some improvements. So we've included some things that hopefully will make things the process a little bit easier for you. The first of that is automatic VIN validation. So your make, model, and year are going to auto-populate when you put in a VIN for most vehicles. We'll also have USPS address validation, so to ensure accuracy of the addresses that you provide, a simplified workflow for vehicle registration to make it just a smoother process, a new vehicle inventory page with filtering capabilities, which will make it easier to search and find things, and then an easier registration card download process. It'll be right on the page. So the first part of our modernization, and the first thing to keep in mind, is creating an account. Because we're moving to a new platform, that means you guys will have new accounts as well. We're going to, on the back end, we have all of the active FMVRS users, and so we'll be adding you to the system, and you'll receive an invite to complete your profile. You'll have to put in your supervisor's information, your information, and just to make sure that everything's accurate, and you'll submit it for approval, and then that'll get approved by us. In the future, the supervisor that you listed on your profile will be the one that approves accounts. But for the meantime, we're the ones that will be doing it on the back end. So your supervisor won't receive an email at the moment. It's not a phishing link. Make sure to be on the lookout for that email and click on the link to sign up for your account when you do get it. And if you're not a current FMVRS user, but are supposed to be or need to be at some point, you can create an account by visiting the website, GSAFleet.gov, and selecting create an account and going through the process. It should be relatively simple. And then the GSA Fleet Help Desk will remain the same. So if you have any technical problems, any technical issues that you run into with this site, I think somebody might be putting that in the chat, the information for the help desk. But that will stay the same. The phone number, the email that you currently use for any technical issues will be the same one that you use now. And then if you have any suggestions or feedback on the website itself, improvements that we can make, that'll be going to our inbox. Just like you guys have been doing this whole time, right? Fleet Systems Modernization at GSA.gov, and that'll come up later as well. Okay, so now we get to demo and give you guys a look at what we've been building, and I will hand it off to Angel to go through the processes and what that looks like. Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, I have an echo. Do you hear an echo?
I don't hear an echo on my end.
Okay. Thank you very much for passing it off, Alex. I'm going to get up this test environment. And you should all see the home screen. Alex, can you just confirm for me that that's what you see?
Yep.
All right, excellent. Thank you. All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Alex mentioned, my name is Angel Rahman, and I work with the GSA Fleet Vehicle Management Division. I'm so excited to be able to introduce to you some of the features of our GSAFleet.gov's vehicle registration functionality. But before I jump into the demonstration today, I want to start by saying that what you're about to see is not the final version of the system at all. I will be walking you through a test environment. So this is currently being worked on and being prepared for our January release. It's going to work a little bit slower, but I want to assure you that we are continuously working to improve and add functionality to this site. So in future iterations, you'll see more functionality. And those functionalities that we'll add in the future will be based on the feedback and suggestions from users like you. So Alex will be a little later explaining how you can become a part of the community of practice to give that continuous feedback that we need. But without further ado, let's jump right into the demo. So what you see here is the home page that has tiles that represent the 4 main areas of the vehicle registration service: the vehicle inventory, vehicle registration, license plates, and license plate orders. So today for this demonstration, I'll be working through each one of these tiles in a way that kind of mirrors the life cycle of a vehicle. And I'll be starting with the license plate orders. So let's jump right in. So on this page, something I want to point out is our searching and filtering capabilities on the left-hand side of the screen. In order to pull up any information and display any information here, you're going to have to either search by an order number or select one or more of the filters that are available. So just as an example, if we wanted to see all of the orders that are in a shipped status, we simply click shipped, and we are presented with all of the orders that are accessible to my login, which right now is an agency fleet manager. And I have the ability to get more information for those orders by clicking this expanded toggle button. And it gives me a little bit more information about that order. For now, we are going to search by an order number. And we're going to go in and see what this order is all about. So we have here an order that's in shipped status. You see the order details, the agency that the order is for, the contact information for the person that placed the order, and then finally, the details for the license plates that are associated with that order. Again, on the left-hand side of the page, you see the filter options for the plates in that order. So you can search for a specific plate number. You can search for specific types of plates, such as motorcycle or trailer, or you can search for plates in a specific status, such as shipped, received, or missing. So one of the workflows I want to walk you through right now is how to go about reconciling a plate, which is basically acknowledging in the system that you have actually received the plate that Unicor has shipped out to you. So in order to do that, you would go to the actions column. In order to reconcile one individual plate, you would go to the actions column, click on the ellipsis button, and you're presented with all of the actions that you're able to take on that specific plate. For now, we're going to click on Reconcile License Plate, and a message pops up to let you know that you are about to change the status of that plate to received. And if this is a plate that is a part of a set, both plates will have that action taken. So they will both be changed to that received action. And this is a plate that's a part of a set. So we're going to go ahead and click this to update that license plate to receive. And you are presented with an confirmation message, just letting you know what it's just taken place. And as you also see that the plate status is updated in the plate status column. If there were more license plates, if you wanted to do the whole order at the same time, you could simply click on reconcile the full license plate order, and you'd have that option to reconcile all the plates at once. So now that these plates are reconciled, you are able to use these plates to associate them to a vehicle that you need to register in the system. So with that, we're going to move on to the vehicle registration tab. Now, in order for me to get back to the home page, I'm going to just click on this GSA Fleet logo here. And it takes you back to the 4 tiles that are on the home page that I showed you a little earlier. So we're going to go to vehicle registration. And here you are presented with the 3-step vehicle registration process. And we've streamlined this process a lot to make it a lot simpler, a lot easier for you to go through. The first thing I wanted to point out, I'm just going to put in a VIN. And that VIN is automatically verified against the NHTSA VIN database. Since it is verified against the NHTSA VIN database, you see that the information that we get from NHTSA is automatically populated into these fields. So the vehicle type, year, make, and model fields are automatically populated. And because they're automatically populated, these will not be able to be edited at any other point in the process. So I can't click in and make any changes here. However, I am going to have to update the color. Let's just pick blue, the fuel type, and whether or not it's fast reportable. That automatically is defaulted to yes, depending on the vehicle type. But if it is not a fast reportable vehicle, you have the option of selecting no. Another thing I want to show you before I leave this section is what if this vehicle is not able to be verified by NHTSA? So I'm just going to remove that last digit from the VIN. And then you see the option to validate the VIN. And what I'm presented with is a way to user verify the VIN for this vehicle. So there are some vehicles that just aren't going to be able to be verified by NHTSA, whether they were manufactured in Japan, manufactured prior to 1981, or just any other reason that may exist. If your vehicle that you're trying to register falls into one of these categories, you can simply select that category, verify the non-standard VIN, and that VIN is updated as a user verified VIN. And at which point you would have to go through and manually input the rest of the information. So let's just say not 1908, but 1980. The make and model fields are drop-down or type ahead drop-down fields as to help with the standardization of data so that we run into less junk data in the system and more standardized, more clean data as we progress and put more types of vehicles in the system. So let's just call this a Taurus. And as you can see, I'm presented with all of the Ford Taurus options. And again, you would have to select the color, fuel type, and whether or not it's fast reportable. Next, we go to the license plate information section. And one thing I want to bring your attention to in this section is users will now have the option to identify a vehicle as being exempt from the requirement to display official US government license plates. So if you have a vehicle that falls into this category, you would simply select this button and you are not going to be required to input a federal government license plate. You do have the option to input a state license plate if you so choose, but it's not required. And if you want more information about that exemption, you can click on any one of these links to take you to the CFR regulation that talks a little bit more about it. For now, we are going to add a license plate to this vehicle that we are registering. So this is another type ahead section where you are presented with all of the plates that are associated or assigned to your bureau or your office that are in that receive status. Remember, they have to be in receive status. So I'm going to select one of these plates, and the expiration date and bureau name are automatically populated into these fields. And again, because they're automatically populated, you won't be able to edit this information. And again, you can feel free to include a state license plate if the vehicle is one that has that. So we are going to move on to step 2 of the vehicle registration process, where we are presented with the agency and point of contact information. Now, the agency and bureau, they are typically going to be automatically populated based on the information from the vehicle and or the license plate that we input in the step previous. The office information, if you're not assigned to a specific office, if you have a couple offices that you work between, you may have the option of selecting which is the appropriate office to assign that vehicle to. It really just depends on how your account is set up. Now, moving on to the point of contact information, here you need to have 2 points of contact, 2 different points of contact, I should specify, in order to have a fully registered vehicle. So what you would need to do is you can start by putting in an email address. And I'm just going to put in mine. And you can tab over or click add contact, but that information is automatically run against the USPS address verification system, which was an enhancement that Alex had mentioned earlier. So you verify the address information is correct, save and close, and that green check mark indicates that you have successfully added that 1 point of contact. Now for the second point of contact, we're going to add Angelo, who is not in our system. So if it is a new person that has not been included in the system, you would simply add that point of contact information, address, and the phone number, 10-digit phone number. Save and close. And again, you're presented with the USPS address verification, save and close. And then you have a second check mark indicating that you now have 2 valid points of contact. So we're going on to the third and final step in the registration process, where we are just reviewing the information that we input in the previous steps for making sure that they are correct and registering the vehicle. One thing I do want to point out is if you want or need to update any information at this point, clicking edit in any one of the boxes will take you back to that step in the registration process so that you're able to make the necessary changes. So for instance, if this vehicle is actually black and not blue, I can come back here, make that correction, and then I'd be able to, the rest of my information is saved here, so I can quickly get back to this review and register page with that updated information, and then complete the registration. So now this vehicle has been registered, and I'm presented with the link to download the registration card. And as you can see, all of the information is here that we input for the registration. I'm going to click download the registration card. And you should see a PDF created with all of the information that you input, all the POC information and the self-insurance statement. And you can download, imprint, or both that registration card. Okay, and that is our vehicle registration process. So now I'm going to go back to our home page. But instead of clicking on the logo, the other option I have is to click on this drop down here where it's titled Manage My Fleet. And I'm presented with the same 4 tiles that you would see on the home page. I'm going to now go to the vehicle inventory tile. And here on the vehicle inventory tile, you are able to manage all of the vehicles assigned to your office. And again, you can search by VIN, and you have a couple other filter options here, such as license plate, point of contact, where you be searching by a specific email, ownership, whether it's a GSA leased or agency owned, vehicle, where you're searching by make or model, and registration status, whether it be a registered, incomplete, or unregistered vehicle. So we're going to search for a few VINs in here so I can show you a few different types of vehicles that you may be presented with in this environment. So I'm going to go back up here to search by VIN. I'm going to input a VIN here. And I'm presented with a vehicle that has this incomplete status. Now, what does it mean to have an incomplete registration? I'm going to click in here so that you can see the vehicle registration details. This is the exact same page that we created when we finished the vehicle registration. The only difference is at the top of this page, you see a notification letting you know that there's some critical information missing from this particular vehicle registration. So the mandatory fields that we need in order to have a complete vehicle registration are the VIN, make, model, year, color, fuel type, fast reportable, primary and secondary POC. So in short, essentially we need everything in this box and complete points of contact. So in this box, as you can see, the model and color are missing. And this might be the case for some of the vehicles that are being transported or moved over from the legacy FMVRS system that you guys use today into this system. So this would be a way that you can update this information here. So I'm going to click edit, and I'm presented with all of the information, and I have the ability to update the model, update the color, and I'm going to say, yes, this is fast reportable. Save and close. And now this vehicle is successfully registered. So you see that that registration status has changed from incomplete to fully registered. And you have the ability to print out a new registration card by clicking on this registration actions button, download registration card, and it takes you to the same PDF that we were just looking at on the previous screen. So going back to the vehicle inventory, I can click on this little caret here, or I can just click on the manage my fleet. So a couple different options. So we're going to search another VIN. which is now this vehicle is in an unregistered status. And what that means is it has not gone through that three-step registration process. This would happen if a vehicle was just purchased and we have the vehicle information from the purchasing system, but it hasn't been yet associated with a plate, or it hasn't yet been received. This is a way that you would go about making sure that this vehicle is loaded into the system. So we would click on the VIN, and what you see here is all of the information for the vehicle that we have and that we were able to pull from the purchasing system. But you also have the option to click here and go directly through that three-step registration process that we had earlier. And you see that you are presented with the ability to register that vehicle, and you see that the VIN has already been NHTSA verified. So it's one of those NHTSA verified VINs. And you would go through all of the steps that I just showed you previously. So I'm going to go back out to the vehicle inventory. And there's one other action that I want to show you on this vehicle inventory list before we move on. Now this vehicle is registered. And you see it has all of the information that we need for this vehicle. But when we click in this vehicle, we see this notification at the top letting us know that there is a new license plate available. Now, what's going on here is the license plate that's been assigned to this vehicle is already expired, and the user had already ordered a new plate to replace that expired plate. Well, as soon as that plate was received in our system, it can automatically be transferred in the system so that that old plate, that old expired plate, is removed and that new plate is added to the vehicle in the system. By simply clicking on this button and saying update the vehicle registration with the new license plate, you're able to update that vehicle. And it seems we've hit an error, but this is one of the bugs that we are working to make sure is ready for you guys at our go live date. So the way it will work is it automatically updates that license plate information. And you are taken through the process to get rid of the old plate or submit the old plate for destruction. So what I'm going to do is go back to our home screen. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more thing I want to show you on the vehicle inventory tile. So we are going to search for registered vehicles. And if there are a few registered vehicles that I have and I want to print registration cards for at one time instead of printing them off one at a time, I could simply go to this vehicle inventory listing, select the vehicles that I'd like to get the vehicle registration cards for, and go to the top to this bulk actions button. And there I'm able to download the registration cards. And I'm presented with this message that lets me know all of the vehicles that the registration cards would be printed for. And I'm taken to the same type of PDF, but 4 separate PDFs for each of those vehicles. Okay. So going back to look at, oh, just give me 1 second. It seems I've logged myself out here. Okay. Going back to our home screen, the last tile I want to show you guys is this license plate tile. And this is where you're able to manage your license plate inventory. Now, some of the things I want to show you here. Again, we still have the search function and the available filters let you search by certain plate types, plates in a specific status, or if you have the Unicore order number, like we had earlier, you can pull up all of the individual plates that are associated with a specific order. So I can show you quickly. The two plates that we put into receive status earlier are here, and we can work with those plates individually here. One thing I wanted to show you in this tile is some of the actions we're able to take for these license plates. So if you click on the actions button, you're able to report a license plate as lost or stolen, report a license plate as damaged, or start the process to submit the license plates for destruction. So I'm going to click here on reporting this license plate as lost or stolen. And the status for lost and stolen is titled missing. So that would cover both the lost and stolen actions for a vehicle or for a license plate. So I'm presented with this message letting me know the action I'm about to take. Click on this change status to missing button. And I'm notified of what I should do next when this plate gets changed to that missing status. So reporting the license plates to a local security office or police department, contacting Unicore to obtain a replacement plate, or submit the remaining plate for destruction. If, for instance, only one plate was actually lost and I actually have the other plate, I should go about the process of submitting that other plate for destruction. So as you can see, the status for those has been moved from received to missing. So we're going to look for another plate. I'm going to change that. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second. All righty. I apologize. I still have a filter on here. So what just happened was I was looking for a specific plate and I didn't remove the initial filter that I have on here. So I'm going to remove that. And I can either remove that individual filter or remove all of the filters at the same time by hitting this reset all button. But now I'm presented with the plates that I was looking for. So here, I'm going to go to that actions button again and submit these plates for destruction. Now, one thing I should note is you need to have a UPS shipping label in order to start the destruction process. If you do not have a shipping label, you will not be able to proceed with this process. If you need one, it gives you the information you need in order to get that shipping label sent to you. But I'm going to say that I do have a shipping label for my tag. There's only one box in my shipment, and here is the tracking number for my shipping label. So let's start that process. Now, I'm verifying this information, the plates that I have added, and I'll go back and show you all how to add multiple plates to the process. So we're going to hit next. Verify the agency and point of contact information. So here I'm just going to add a name. In future iterations, a lot of this information will already be pre-filled. So I'm going to hit next again. Here I can put in the reason that I'm returning the plates. So I can just say that these were damaged. Now, this is a known bug. This makes it seem as if, I'm sorry, these are the same questions we asked in the beginning of the process. How many boxes are in your shipment and the UPS tracking number? It makes it seem that this is a required field, but it is not, because we already have a tracking number here. If you have additional tracking numbers for your shipment, this is where you have the ability to enter them. But we will, in future iterations, make sure that it is more clear that this is for additional tracking numbers, not for the main tracking number, and it's not a required field. So for now, we're not going to put a tracking number in here, but we are going to submit the plates for destruction. And now you can see that the status for those plates has been updated to pending destruction. And I have the ability to download the license plate return form that needs to be physically included with the box of plates that's going back to Unicor. So it's a 2-page document. Well, in this case, it's a 2-page document because we only have 2 plates. But if you have more plates, obviously you could have more sheets. And all of the information that we included in those steps previous is here. And it's just a matter of printing out the document and shipping it with the license plates back to Unicor. So I'm going to click our back button here. And I'm going to go back to our license plate inventory. We're going to look for some plates and receive status, and then I'm going to show you the process of how to add multiple plates for destruction. So I'm going to click 3 plates here, or 4 plates here. Go to this bulk actions button and then hit submit for destruction. So again, I'm taken through the process. 4 license plates submitted for destruction. I have 1 box. That's my tracking number. Let's begin the process. Normally, well, you see the plates that I have listed here will be added to the box. Normally it would be both an A and B plate for each of these. We need to check into this a little more, but you would normally see all of the plates that are going to be added to that box for destruction. Hit next, and again, taken through that same process of making sure that the name is included. The reason for destruction. Let's say those vehicles are sold. Again, I don't need to include a second UPS tracking number, only if I have a second one to add. Submit plates for destruction. And now all of those license, here we go. All of the license plates are updated for destruction. That's my apologies. The A's and B's are included on the final document. So download the plate for return. And I'm presented with the return form. So those are the basic functionalities that will be available for the January release. Again, we are building this space in an iterative process. So as we add functionality, as we add more features to the system, they will be rolled out in an iterative process. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Alex to round us up.
Thank you, Angel. That was an awesome demo on the actual what we have right now website. Okay, Vong, if you can get the presentation. Cool. Okay, so like we mentioned earlier, what's next in FY 2022. So the things aside from the vehicle registration system that you just saw, or the service that you just saw, we'll also be releasing the federal vehicle standards, vehicle fleet exchange, CAM, and auto choice. Wait, is that still okay? We'll refer to the updated timeline that's in the first part of that. And then if you could go to the next. And like Angel was mentioning, we have our community of practice. And so we want to make a system that works best for you, but that also means that we need your input. So a lot of you have already worked with us on testing the site. We sent out some links to the staging environment to have people give us feedback. So if you would like to be able to be a part of that in the future, or on a rolling basis, we are constantly testing because we want to make sure that all of the different pieces of the system work for you. The link to the sign up form is there. And if not, if that form doesn't work for you, because a lot of people sometimes have trouble with the Google form, our email is on the next slide, Fleet Systems Modernization at GSA.gov. And that is the end of our presentation. And I know we have a lot of questions. We've been trying to keep track of those, and a lot of them have been answered. But if Vong, Jamie, Angel, if you guys want to come off mute and go through some of these, it seems like some of them are to answer live.
Okay. All right. Let me just start at the top here. So
There
go
was a question here. Do we need to have an AD 11.2 form in place when sending plates for destruction? If your agency guidelines require you to have that form, then please follow your agency guidelines. But per the UNICOR requirements, the form is pre-populated as you go through the destruction workflow and fill out the license plates that you are sending back to UNICOR for disposition.
Okay. So Tom Beck asks, will there be some sort of control that will allow individuals to just view and others to have read, write, update abilities? I remember from past sessions that this issue was in work. And Jamie, it looks like you want to take that one on live. Okay.
Sorry, I was reading through it again. Which one are we taking online?
I'm starting at the top here with Tom Beck's question about the ability for some individuals to control and some individuals to just view.
Yeah, so essentially what we'll be doing is, in terms of read, write, and update, will all depend on the role that you have. So we'll be assigning roles based off of what your fleet agency managers would like you to have. So we have a variety of different controls for that.
All right. Matthew Noble asks, is there going to be just one consolidated database for FMVRS, or will there still be a tag inventory and vehicle inventory? We've had issues where the data does not pass back and forth between the two data sources. And I mean, they are going to be in this one system. So as I showed, you'll have the vehicle inventory listed on one tab and the license plate inventory listed on one tab, but they will both be connected, and everything that is available to you based on how your profile is set up, based on the permissions that you're given and the office or the bureau that you're associated with, you'll be able to see everything that is associated, that you have access and permission to look at or to assign or register. So Michael Cole asks, does this cover S plates as well? And I'm assuming that by S plates, you mean like a plates for your specific agency. And if that's the case, then yes, we are talking about all of the plates that are US government plates and are provided by UNICOR will be included in this system.
What about state plates?
Oh, is that what that means? Okay, so no, state plates are not covered in this. You have the option of adding state plate information to the system or to a specific vehicle registration, but we don't manage state plates at the federal level. So that would be something that would be managed in-house or within your agency's inventory management system. I think I jumped down here. Matthew asked, is there a way to add options for vehicle types so we can separate out, for example, motorcycles, trailers, or special purpose vehicles? For example, the motorcycles and trailers, I know have their own type of tags that they use. Special purpose vehicles possibly have tags, but I guess I need a little bit more clarity on what you mean by adding options to the vehicle type. The types of vehicles that we have for registration purposes.
Hey, Angel, this is on. I'd like to take more piggyback off of that. There is
Sure.
there is the filter capability on the left-hand side that allows customers to filter by motorcycle plates and trailer plates so that you can get an overview of those particular plates within your inventory and the vehicles that are assigned to those particular plates.
And if what you're asking, Matthew, is there a way for us to add more vehicle types to the registration process so that you can select a different type of vehicle? The answer is if there is a need, perhaps yes, but we've based the vehicle types off of the types of vehicles that are required to be registered in the system by the FMR. So if it's not one of the vehicles that we have, there might be a possibility that it is not one that should be registered, but we can answer that a little further offline if you have a more specific question. Okay. Udo is asking, are FMVRS users going to be locked out of FMVRS until they are properly trained by GSA? FMVRS users shouldn't be just turned loose by default because they have an active account. Jamie, I'm gonna pass this one to you.
Yeah, so sure. So we'll be providing training for all users. If you guys would like some one-on-one training or additional questions, feel free to email us the Fleet Modernization inbox, and we'll be happy to talk further and set up and make sure that everyone is properly prepared. We'll also be sharing a user guide as well to make sure that we are setting you up for success and providing support and login as well. In terms of FMVRS users getting locked out of FMVRS, once this site goes live, you won't be able to access the legacy FMVRS. You'll be redirected to this site if you visit that site.
All right. So we have a question. Are people that use MVS using this? I'm not very clear on what MVS is. Vong, Jamie, Alex, anybody have more clarity on that?
I don't know what that acronym is, Angel.
Okay. If you could, whoever submitted that question, if you have more details or more information that you want, Vong is typing in an answer, I think, where you can submit a more specific question to our email address that we have set up for the modernization effort, and we could answer it more directly that way. Jerry Butler wants to know, what is fast reportable? And that is vehicles that are required to be reported to FAST. And FAST is the, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on what the acronym stands for. So
Got your
forgive
back,
me.
Angel. Don't worry.
Thank you, Stacy.
The Federal I can't talk now though. The Federal Automotive Vehicle Statistical Tool.
Thank you. It's an annual reporting mechanism for the Department of Energy. Stacy?
So it's an annual required reporting for all. Oh, it starts to get into the specifics of, are the vehicles fast reportable? Is the agency required to report into fast? But it's a combination of DOE and the GSA, Office of Government-Wide Policy. And I think OMB might be in the loop there a little bit as well. If you're a local fleet manager, it's possible that that reporting is being done at the headquarter level on your behalf. And so you may not be familiar with it. Each agency kind of handles that a little bit differently.
And I just posted in the FAST help page, so that could try to help any questions with that as well.
All right, thank you so much. I just want to read through Gabriel's question here. So Gabriel, it sounds like you are wanting to know if we plan on adding some features to the system that makes it more easy to work with state plated vehicles. And as of right now, that is not in the plan, simply because this is a federal motor vehicle registration system. And the idea is, if the vehicle does have state plates, then those state plates should be registered with a state or local entity. And therefore that information will already be captured somewhere. So think of it as the federal DMV for those plates. So if you already have state plates for a vehicle, then you have a registration document from that state DMV. This would allow you to get a registration document for your federally owned and federally operated vehicles.
Angel, if you don't mind, I'm just going to chime
Sure.
in a tiny bit on that one too. So the thing you have to keep in mind is that each state has different requirements for government vehicles being registered within that state. And so there isn't really a way to automate that process. You know, in some cases, they want you to provide the certificate of origin, like the actual official copy. Some states will accept a copy of that. And it really varies from state to state. So there isn't really a way to automate that and have everything connect.
Thank you, Stacy. That is a good point. You know, the different states have different requirements. So, and that is another reason that it becomes a little bit difficult to populate from a federal standpoint. So Udo is asking if vehicle color and fuel type can be populated from the OEM. And as of right now, we are still looking into the best way to automate as much information as possible for that registration process, so that we can have the most clean and most standardized data throughout our system. So I'm not saying no, but I'm saying we have not yet come to a point where we found a data source that is able to provide us that information consistently for all of our vehicle types. So perhaps in the future, but for now, I don't know that we have come across a single data source to help us with the fuel type and color. But the year, make, model, vehicle type, we're pulling that information straight in. Anybody want to piggyback?
Yeah, I'm just going to make one comment about colors coming from the manufacturer. What you all may not see is the colors that the manufacturers like put in the system are the crazy color names that you see on the dealer websites. So they don't come across as saying blue or green or whatever. So there would need to be some changes in how that is done in order, I think, for you guys to have like good, clean data on colors. coming from the manufacturer. And there is always the potential for, you ordered it as one thing, it's shipped as another, but you went ahead and accepted it, and then you could have mismatched information. So there would be some risks associated with that as well, I would think.
That's a good point, Stacy. Thank you. All right. Okay, so we're at, if a vehicle has a state plate, should it be required that a government plate be turned in? I know for our fleet leased vehicles, if you don't have a document stating that there is a need to keep both the state plates and the government plates, then you are going to be required to turn in those GSA fleet leased plates back to your FSR. But for your agency owned vehicles, I don't think that it's required anywhere that the vehicle can't have both types of plates. Can anybody back me up on that, Vaughn?
Hey, Angel, this is Vaughn. So per OGP guidelines, OGP recommends that agencies send government plates back to Unifor for destruction if you are running state plates.
All right, Vaughn, I'm gonna need you to take over the questions here.
Thank you, Angel. So the next question is from Gabriel. I think that was answered. Excuse me here. So here's a question from William Howard. What color will be used if the vehicle is wrapped in graphics? That's a very good question. Stacy, can you answer this?
That's not something I think we've ever encountered. I think, my experience with colors comes from our GSA leasing side of the house and dealing with some things there. Usually what we would do there is whatever the original color of the vehicle was that came from the manufacturer, that's what it would get loaded into our system as. And that may be something that you want to have some internal conversation within your agency and decide, is there going to be a policy or an SOP or best practice, whatever you would want to call it, within your agency as far as determining how they want to handle that within the system. The one thing where I think it could be important, and I don't know that we've ever had any issues come up with this, but the information in FMVRS and then the new system, part of that is that it's fed to state and local law enforcement entities. And so if they're pulling a vehicle over, they know this license plate is supposed to be on a blue minivan. If it's a vehicle that's wrapped with Marine Corps recruiting logos all over the place and it's showing that the vehicle is assigned to the federal government, I think it's all probably going to be okay. The bigger concern would be is if that tag is on a vehicle that completely doesn't match what's in the system. So, but that may be something that you want to talk within your agency and decide how you want to handle that. And then I don't know, for the IT folks that are on the line that are more familiar with the processes with inlets, if you all know if they've ever put any guidance out regarding that.
It's Stacy, this is Vaughn. No guidance from inlets about vehicles that are wrapped in logos. Okay, so next question is from Ron Dayton. Will this also show armored vehicles? The FMVRS is the registration system for non-tactical vehicles. So armored vehicles would not be in the system. Okay, next question is from Gabriel Bridges. We use GSA drive-through in the FDA. According to your timeline, it won't be integrated until 2024. However, CAM is under GSA drive-through for us. Will CAM still be associated with drive-through, or will we now be using two different systems until GSA drive-through is integrated into the new system? Jamie, do you want to take this?
Yeah, so yeah, I think we'll have to get back to you on that one.
Great, thank you. Next question. Patrick Quinlan, will all existing data currently in FMVRS be automatically transcribed over to the new GSAFleet.gov system? That is correct, Patrick. All the data that's currently in legacy FMVRS will be migrated over to the new system. And as we go live, you will have the opportunity to update your data within the new system. Okay. So a question from Bonnie Silvermail. How do you mark a vehicle as sold, and does it automatically update the tag? Great question, Bonnie. So as the vehicle is coming to the end of its life cycle, you do have the opportunity to change the status of the vehicle from active to sold, and the system will automatically unlink that license plate from that VIN, and then you will go through the license plate destruction workflow. Okay, question from Patricia King. Will this revised FMVRS have an email link to Unifor to request a UPS label when returning license plates? That is correct. Question from Vanessa Holiday. So government vehicles can be added. That is correct, Vanessa. Government vehicles can be added into the new FMVRS. So question from Carl McAfee. FMVRS currently has an equipment number field. Will the new registration system also provide that field? No, the new registration system will not provide that field. So next question from Michelle and Marco. On your creating an account regarding supervisor, how about if your supervisor leaves the organization? How do we update the supervisor name on our end to avoid delay or creating account and etc.? Alex or Jamie?
Can you repeat that question one more time?
On creating a user account regarding supervisor, what if your supervisor leaves the organization? How do we update the supervisor name on our end to avoid delay or creating accounts?
Yeah, so there's a few ways to do that. So number one, when we create a new account in the new system, you'll be able to put in a new supervisor, and we'll verify that with your supervisor with that information. But if it's later on, like a year down the road, you can just email the help desk and we'll update that for you.
Question from Nancy Patterson. How does this work with FAT-FMS? So Nancy, as you are updating your information in the new vehicle registration system, there is a checkbox or a drop-down menu where if you select fast reportable, that information in the new system will feed FAT-FMS. If we have state registered vehicles, are we still able to download a self-insurance card for our vehicles? Great question, Dennis Ward. Currently, we are working with our developers to have that feature available in a future release. So question from Jennifer Dunn is, if there is bad information in FMVS right now that says wrong year, when it goes to the new system, will it alert us to fix it? That is correct, Jennifer. There will be a NHTSA validation. If the year is off, the system will notify you that the information is incorrect. So another question from Bonnie, will GSA Fleet still update Fed FMS until 2024? That is correct, Bonnie. GSA Fleet will continue to update Fed FMS until 2024. And I think the other questions we can respond through email. Stacy, turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I know we still have a lot of questions. We got a lot of really great and interesting questions. So the team will be following up. But if you think of anything else, you can definitely contact them. I know that they've provided the email, which I'm blanking on off the top of my head. And again, we'll send out the email to all of the registered attendees with the link to the website where you can download a copy of the slides. There is the recording currently posted of the session that was hosted in October. We'll be working to get that updated with today's session. That'll probably take a couple of weeks. And then also, if you want to download the slides, they're posted there. And then the email will have the certificate for anybody that needs it or wants it for your records. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and to our presenters and everyone helping answer questions today. Another really great session. Thank you, everyone, and take care.